Go. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 341, I'm very lucky to have Mark Smith. He is a former wrestler in the NWA WCW back in the day. And yes, he is an author as well. How are you today, sir? How are you today?
Brother, I could not be better. In my neck of the woods, they would say finer than a frog's hair. So, so anyway, I'm not sure if the UK uses that term. It's Southern US.
Well, no, you know what? I if I went around using that term over here in the UK, I'm not too sure what the reaction would be. Uh, confusion, confusion, befuddlement, and maybe who knows? Maybe aggression or charming smiles. Not too sure where that'll end up. Ah,
Well, first, I would, and I know you too, brother. Uh, we want to thank the listeners, the viewers, because in this world, it just seems like selfishness, those kind of things are just, growing, getting more and more. And yet, our fine listeners, our wonderful listeners, the fact is, time is the greatest gift you can give.
mm,
I mean, think about it. Once the time has passed, you can never get it back. You may be able to relive an experience by going back to the same place, but you can't get that exact time. So,
mm.
to our listeners, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for giving us this gift. We're trying to also give you a gift today, which is a real positive message. And so, brother, I mean, we've only met for just a few minutes, and I got to tell you, you're the real deal, man. Love you to death, and let's rock.
Oh, I forgot to say, he is also a minister as well. Hence the reason why he's got the silky tongue. Yes, you are right. Yeah, time is the one asset which is ever so fleeting and we can never get back. And yes, even if you could go back to these places to relive, it's like, yeah, those moments have gone. That they were there, they were present at that time. They were unique at that moment, and now they move on swiftly. But yeah, you sir. Now I've got to say, no, your energy, your positivity, your overall charm and charisma, like reeks off of like this camera quite well. Like yeah, like from like what has made you this man at this present time?
Well, really, number one, I don't feel like I'm very charismatic. I'm just being honest. I mean, I feel like what I'm giving everyone is actually the real deal. Yes, I have my ups and I have my downs. We all do. But I
Mm,
feel like I'm being used. I've got a purpose. I'm being used in such a way that, uh, I mean, it's like an endorphin rush, and I'm living an endorphin rush, and I'm living an endorphin rush with the TV shows I've got coming on board and everything else I'm working on. I I don't feel useless. I feel like I have a purpose. And, to every listener, viewer out there, I want them to know the same thing. Uh, Today, we live in a very false society. And the fact that society says, well, if you drink Coca Cola, it's the real thing. Well, it's a drink. I like it. It's a drink. Or if you wear these clothes, you're something that you're not. Everybody's looking for identity in some form or fashion. And I'm happy that I know who I am. I'm a granddaddy that love my grandkids to death. I'm a dad of 8. We had 3 biological and adopted 5 more. I mean, I have purpose. And it's like people say, who is your absolute best friend? I can't say that I have an absolute best friends because I just automatically I want to gravitate to those people that are friends. They are also dear to me. So my heart's full. and that makes me happy. So this is me. I
Mm.
had to go through a lot of rocky stuff to get there.
Now, I'm sure you had to get like go through the gauntlet, to say the least, to like get to where you are today. But like this is the thing with regards to like in this today's society. Like yes, it's a very sort of like, especially in the developed world. Like yes, America, Canada, like United Kingdom, and throughout Europe,
Hmm.
it is more like the focus on the individual, and like with regards to purpose, trying to find that purpose as an individual is the sort of rose, like it's the jewel in the crown for most people, rather than sort of finding that sort of realm of shared purpose like which you have found, because you are a father of eight, three biological, and then you decided to like go, you know what? You. We choose you. Come along. But that's a shared mission of purpose with your like wife as well. To
Yes,
like, you know what I mean? Go forward on that. Now, I have to like sort of jump back with
sure.
this because look, this is the man you are today, and like as I say, I have nothing but praise and respect for you at this present time. But like, what what were you like back in your sort of teenage years to your sort of early 20s, and before
I
you
was a
discovered
drunk.
wrestling?
I
Hmm?
was a drunk.
You
I
were
was a
drunk.
drunk.
You
Yeah.
were drunk. Now, what
About,
to?
about, I'll tell you what. In fact, when I graduated high school,
Yes.
my junior and senior year, I don't remember a lot because I was so intoxicated. I went to college for 1 year because my mother, and I love her to death. We're probably going to talk this afternoon, but she said in this great, she had this great wisdom in this voice, and she said in a very beautiful way, "Mark Smith, you're going to college." You know, you know. So anyway, I went to college. Well, I did mess up a few things. For instance, on the Declaration of Independence, over here, John Hancock wrote it very large
Hmm.
because he said, I wanted the King of England to see it. Well, I was drinking so much at the time, I thought it was Jack Daniels. So I messed up. I mean, I graduated no, I did not graduate. Oh my God, I'd have burned in hell for saying that. No, at the end of the year, uh, that's it. At the end of the year, I ended up with a 1.11 GPA.
So for like for people in the UK who might not know how that works, now how like is one good and the higher
No,
number
four
bad?
is good. Four is an A, B is a three, C is a two, and D is a one. So I had the lowest D you could have without completely failing the whole thing, the whole semester, half a year. So I did mess up. I mean, I thought uh, things like physics, which would help me learn how to get over a hangover. It didn't. I thought I was in typing class, and this really happened. That I was sitting there typing, and I saw like three screens. I was so drunk, so I passed out. I made sure that I went down on the one in the middle, and all of a sudden, the professor came to me, and she kind of cuffed me by the ears, not to grab my hair or be rude or anything, but she kind of lifted my head up, and I remember just like so. And she said, Mark, what is that? I said, it's Gruber. That's what it looked like to me. My forehead hit it and just the keys went wild,
Mm.
right? She said, what is it? I said, I'm studying a foreign language. She said, God bless you, Mark. Go ahead and lay your head back down. She put my head back down on the keyboard. She felt so sorry for me. So, I I grew up, my dad, um, we had discussed it for just a moment. He was literally beaten with iron chains as a kid. He never processed anything. So he had this rage and this anger inside of him.
Mm.
I remember the last time he hit me with a fist. When I didn't go down, it was he was scared to death. And I told him, I said, "You hit me again, I'll kill you." Uh, I did have some reasons for to get drunk. For me, it was escapism. It was escaping because when a kid grows up, when and there's physical abuse like that, not sexual, I mean just abuse. No matter what, the kid loses their identity because they're living in fear. They don't grow up in a normal way. You grow up distrusting everyone. You see a man and his kid beside him, and you go, okay, I wonder if that kid gets the same thing that I get. And it got so bad where I was sleeping with a Louisville Slugger metal softball bat in the bed with me, and I would have killed. So you talk about me having that anger and rage.
Mm.
One year college, blah. Well, I would go to a lumber company and buy pieces of wood. I guess more like we call it plywood. I don't know what you call it in the UK. Kind of like the 4 by 4 foot by 8 foot
Yeah.
plank. I started throwing baseballs, and I got to where I could throw a baseball and it could go through the wood in one throw. So the Atlanta Braves major league team here, we were watching them. I was watching them on TV, and a stepfather of mine who passed away. He wasn't my stepfather for very long. He said, "Mark, you need to go to that tryout." And it was where the movie Bull Durham with Kevin Costner was filmed.
Oh.
So I went up there. I was trot out. In fact, about 2 years ago, this was about 19 end of '86, probably. Okay, something like that. And I talked to the guy who tried me out about 2 years ago. And when I told him uh, what where I was and what I did, he said, "Did you stay for the game afterwards?" I said, "Yeah, the inner squad. Yes, I did." He says, "Mark, your file's still in my attic of my house." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah. If you were that good, I kept you up there. I kept you in my attic." And anyway, my stepfather at that time, he was hooked on 25 to 30 Percodan and Percocet a day. And finally, one night he attacked me. Um, my pitching hand was forever damaged. I was also hit in a car accident about 2 weeks later. I was hit in the driver's side by a car that had a it had run a stop sign. A kid was drinking a Coca-Cola from McDonald's. And when I went to the doctor, they said there was so much damage I could never throw a baseball again. I could not snap my wrist really hard enough for a curveball. And that's when somebody called me and I made the step into professional wrestling.
Yeah. Now this is the thing. What's going on here? Why is it filtering? Uh, sorry,
I'm hearing you
it's
now.
kind of, yeah. I'm got an echo and I don't like it. Okay. Has it stopped? Has it stopped?
I
Yeah.
don't hear echo. I do not hear any.
Okay. No, it seems to have stopped. I was as I was saying, this is the thing with all of that going on. Like, okay, when you went through the whole back and forth with your biological father, and what led to your drinking like to such a level that yes, like
Hmm.
you like school was just more of just a rest stop than like actually like getting anywhere. Uh, and then like to like basically be trying out for the Braves. Like, did you sober up between that period of time, or were you still in that whole
When I
situation?
when I tried out from the Braves, I was an angry guy, and I would purposely. In fact, the man who tried me out, he asked me. He says, "Those guys you hit with a pitch, you did it on purpose, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What were you trying to accomplish?" I said, "I want them to be scared every time they come up to bat." He said, "You did it. You did it." And so I was supposed to report to spring training. Um, I think for pitchers, we were supposed to start the end of February. And the car accident and my father, I'm sorry, stepdad attacking me happened in December. I was 2 months away from being in spring training from a professional career, and it was ripped from me. And what happened was I lost my identity all over again.
Mm,
Baseball, what made me feel like a human being. I wasn't afraid on that field. So this is what happens a lot of times with people, and if there's abusive situations, there'll be multiple times in their life where they may feel they may hit that depth of depression, and then they start thinking of the other times in their life when they felt it. It compounds, and then we have a situation where there could be possible suicides or something to that effect.
mm. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where don't like even though you were in the hole and everything like this, as you say, like yeah, like baseball was your anchor. To then have that anchor cruelly ripped away from you through like circumstances which were beyond your control. Trying to find something like trying to find something along the way. Like, was it like an immediate thing you discovered? Like wrestling came up, or was it a case of you like had to do some walking in the wilderness before
Well,
that opportunity came up?
yeah, I'll tell you what. When I hit that second point of depression after the
Mm,
baseball ripped away, I oh, I hated God worse. I hated him so bad. I did. I mean, full hate. And so I'm working, of all things, at my dad's gas station. Uh, a fella pulls in that I went to school with. His name was Mark Scarpa. Mark Scarpa's daddy was Joe Scarpa. Joe Scarpa was Chief Jay Strongbow in the WWF. Aunt Mark and I always sat together in school because Mark Smith and Mark Scarpa, if they we would always be sitting beside, either in front of each other or in back of each other. Mark saw me pick up like 150 pounds or something like that and just jerk it over my head and throw it somewhere. I don't remember what I was doing. And he looked at me and said, "My God, Mark, I didn't know you were that strong." And I said, "Well, what you do working here?" He said, "After work, uh, I need to take you somewhere." I said, "Well, yeah, where have you been?" He said, "I've been up in Portland, Oregon." He said, "I've been working for Don Owens." I said, "The Don Owens?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I heard he paid good." And Mark said, "Yeah, he does." He said, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in up there." He said, "Come on with me." So he took me and we went to the woods. And I'm thinking, okay, I've seen the movie Deliverance. I'm not.
No, 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 no.
All right.
Suey. There you go.
Well, we walked about 9 foot, and there goes a wrestling ring. Just put up
In the middle of the woods.
in the
That,
middle of the woods.
that is highly strange. It's
So
like
I'm thinking, what are we going to watch? Squirrel Mania? I mean, what is the deal here?
Uh, where like you're in the deepest darkest woods. Yes, it's the squirrels versus the bears. Which
Right.
one will make
So he tells me, he says, "Oh, let's get in the ring." Gets in the ring, he says, "Body slam me." Boom, boom. He was only about 225. Nothing. He said, "Can you press me?" Boom. Yes. He said, let's work some moves. So he showed me just a couple things. We worked on some tackles and stuff like that. We worked for about an hour.
it?
He said, "You really need to be in this business." I says, "Well, what do I need to do?" He says, "You need to buy a ring. You need to be in this business so you can get your ring time in with your own ring." So ended up, I bought a ring that ended up had been pretty famous. I bought it for like $800. It was a 16-foot by 16-foot ring. Now today they use 20 by 20s, okay, but guys were smaller back then. Most wrestlers were. Anyway, I said most. Anyway, um, well, I had a couple wrestlers come by, or they called me and they said, "Yeah, let's work in your ring. I'll help you out." And they did, and ended up I met a person. Well, I was going broke. I worked a couple small shows, and I was going broke.
Yeah.
I mean, you paying your dues is so much different now than what it used to be. Paying your dues back old school wrestling. Somebody would say, "I'll pay you $50." They hand you 10 and say, "That's all I've got, man. Here's a Coke and a hot dog." I mean, seriously, that is truly, if you talk to an old school wrestler, that's paying their dues. And so I was going broke, man. I loved wrestling, but I was going broke because I'd gotten kind of good at it. These promoters who also wrestled wanted to wrestle me, but I didn't know if they could work, and some of them couldn't. And if they didn't, I'd pop them in the jaw for their first mistake. I mean, I'd give them what they call in the wrestling business a potato.
Potato. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
so,
yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry. Please explain a potato.
Okay, a potato is something where, for instance, I forget the town I was in. I was working somebody maybe a year younger than me, and we're in a battle royal, like 12 men in the ring. Okay, throw each other off the top, over the top rope, and you're eliminated. You kind of watch out. You know who's going before you. You kind of keep an eye on that person, and when they go out, then you start setting it up so that you go out. All right. This kid, I would say at least 10 guys were still in the ring. And he takes my arm, puts it around his head, says suplex. I go, uh-uh. He says suplex. Uh-uh. So I cold cock him right in the jaw, and his jaw just goes over. I say, and I told him, I said, "You're not doing a suplex." And he was gonna hurt me. He didn't realize it, but he was gonna hurt me. I was gonna come down on somebody, probably come down on my neck and break my neck.
Yeah.
So I got him. I threw this kid against the ropes. He was all like this because and bleeding out of his mouth. And so I start chopping him. A couple of the guys had to pull me away from him because I went from him getting blood blisters to the blisters busting.
Yeah. No. Like it's one of those things. Okay. Now. Okay. You know the old adage about yes, professional wrestling and like the whole it's like it's fake. It's all fake. You don't really hurt them. They don't really hurt themselves. When I was a kid, I really sort of, you know what I mean, believe this sort of narrative because it there is an element of it being scripted, which, you know what I mean, never
Mhm.
known about it. But it's one of those things where over the course of time, I appreciate the fact that taught like a number of wrestlers who've been on podcasts, seen documentaries, seen what they had to go through to make
Mhm.
it just to be a working wrestler, especially back in the 80s. Like there was glamour. No, no, no. You know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
videos I've
Right.
seen, it was like just like it was all this sort of stuff before it sort of was like, okay, you're sort of earning your dues. Like pretty much like how you had to try out for the Braves, you were not gonna go straight to the Braves. It's like, yeah, as a wrestler, you don't go straight into I am on the WC. No, they like you got to go through it all. They try you out, camera test you,
Well,
go through it all.
there were no tryouts back then.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
because back
It was a type thing where if somebody saw your size or whatever,
mm,
they may come up to you and say, "Have you ever thought about this?" Because maybe the promotion they were in needed a guy that had that particular look. But myself, I'm 5'11", 270 pounds. I've got a 56-inch chest, 21-inch neck, and a 42-inch waist.
you see any other situation, right?
Yeah.
That's an impressive stature, to say the least.
Well, thank you.
And like, but I remember, like the Hacksaw Jim Duggan
Hmm.
was like the only professional wrestler I've met face to face. He was in the UK, and it's just one of those things. My brain can compute it because it's he was so different to what you go, this is a regular person. It was like, yeah, what are you, man? It's like you seem to be four times the size of the biggest person I've seen. So like when I watched you wrestling Sid Justice or Sid Vicious, woo, I'm gonna go with Justice. Let's keep him in these
Okay.
good guys vibes. Sid Justice was a very impressive like build of a man.
He was
And
like
me,
6'8", 6'8", and about, I think real weight, he was about 6'8" and about right at 310 or something like that.
yeah, huge. And he
Hmm.
made you look like a regular guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's just one of those things which is crazy. But if you don't have that sort of trust within each other, and like you, as you say, if they don't know, if a person doesn't know how to wrestle, you can get into trouble very easily, very quickly. And like, yeah, like spending out a chunk of change, like, and like that's $800 back then. It's a lot of money. It's
Hmm.
not like you don't think you're like, yeah, $800 is a credit card payment. It's like, yeah, that's like 2 week, like 4 weeks wages, like 2 weeks wages or whatnot.
Hmm.
Easy. Back then, geez, their equivalent now would most probably be about 5 grand, maybe
Yeah,
10 grand.
about
So
5.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's so getting from there, learning, like how did you sort of like get into like the whole WCW? It's like,
Okay, great. That's a great story. I'm happy to tell you. Okay, so I'm working these small shows. I'm going broke. I've already got the ring paid off, and I'm having my matches with $10 and a hot dog,
yeah,
right? So I call, and just by chance, there's a wrestling school that opened up about 15 miles from where I lived. I had no idea it was owned by the legendary assassin Jody Hamilton. So I call up there because I want to sell my ring. I just can't make it in the business. I can't make any money.
mm,
And that deep voice come on, and I like to wet myself, because I could tell who it was. And I said, "Mr. Hamilton," and he said, "Yeah, yeah." He had this deep, real deep voice. And I tell him, he says, "Well, I have something on in the oven right now, or on the burner." I think he might have said on the burner. He said, "If you'll, I need another ring up here. So if you'll let me have your ring, I'll do all repairs. I'm going to use it for training, and you can just come by my house and pick up the keys anytime you want to and work out." I'm thinking, well, Better than nothing. So I say, thank you, sir. We meet at my dad's gas station. And he comes in and brings a trailer to, we're going to go and we load up the ring. And my dad, all of a sudden, wants to get really close to me because he realizes that's Jody Hamilton, the legendary Jody Hamilton. And all of a sudden, Jody's got people all around him. We go get the ring, go back up to his place. We set it up. He says, "Now, come by." And the WCW ended up being WWE as well. Referee Nick Patrick is his son. His real name is Jody Hamilton, Joe Hamilton Jr. So here's Nick Patrick and all these guys up there, and I'm going, wow, okay, I'm seeing some big players here. I go by his house. They treat me like gold. I thank them so much. And finally, one day, Jody Hamilton called me. He says, "Mark," and he used to run a town called Cleveland, Georgia, and it's in North Georgia, toward the mountains.
Okay.
He calls me and he says, "Mark, I need you in Cleveland tonight. Can you make it?" I said, "Sure, Mr. Hamilton. I'll do whatever you tell me to do." He said, "Well," I said, "I'm glad because I was hoping you would. I got some plans for you." I said, "Well, yes, sir." I said, "Mr. Hamilton, what time, Mr. Jody," is what I called him. "Mr. Jody, when do you want me up there?" I said, when is check-in time?" He says, "Well, it's about 6 o'clock." And this was about 11 o'clock in the morning, okay, 11 a.m. And I'm thinking, okay, sure. I said, "Mr. Jody, I'll just leave here about 4 o'clock and I'll get there in plenty of time." He says, "Mark, you don't understand what I'm talking about." I said, "Okay, sir. What am I missing?" He said, "I need you in Cleveland, Ohio tonight. Uh, Ted Turner has now bought the NWA, uh, or Crockett, I should say, Crockett Promotions, who I'd worked just a few times with in the NWA, and they were big time." He says, "Ted Turner just bought it, and it's now kind of going to be called World Championship Wrestling. I want you to go to the 12th floor of CNN Center, tell the guard who you are, he'll let you in, get your plane tickets, sign the papers I have for you, and go immediately get on the plane. You're flying on Delta Airlines, and I need you in Cleveland as soon as possible."
Ooh.
I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jody. I will be there. Thank you, thank you, thank you." I said, "I just appreciate it." He says, "Mark, if you keep thanking me, you're going to miss your flight. Get on." So I ran like a chicken with my head cut off. I was grabbing everything. I did not know how long I was going to be on the road for or anything. Ended up that one time I was on the road for like 3 or 4 days straight. I just packed stuff in and I head up there and get about halfway down the road. I tell people I was about halfway there before my rear end caught up with the rest of me because I was so scared. I was scared. I was excited. I mean, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my!" I was almost hyperventilating while I was driving the car. So I get up and get everything, get into Cleveland, get a cab over to the arena. Well, I walk in, and he told me, he said, "Look for the door in the back of the arena that has a cable running through it. That's the only way to get in." I said, "Okay." And that's the way we always got in we would find the semi trucks, the production trucks,
Yeah.
and follow the cable from there into one door, and that's the way that all the wrestlers would come in. So I did that. There's Ron Simmons, Butch Reed, Sid, Flair, Steamboat, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Geez, who else? Oh, come on, Mark. I see Jim Ross walking. Gordon Soley happened to be there that night, and he's walking. I'm flipping out, man. I am totally, totally flipping out. And that is how I got into WCW.
It is crazy because like this is the thing with the WCW over in the UK. Like, okay, we had Sky, like Sky, the satellite TV company,
Hmm.
like bought the they got the rights to do the WWF as it was back then
Hmm.
in the UK. In the UK,
Right.
and basically the WCW was it sort of snuck in the sort of 90s
Hmm.
on like regular TV on like we've got like five regular TV channels where you don't need to have any subscription. They're
Right.
just being right in. And it was ITV, and it was always late at night. So it's like one of those things where there'll be times where I'll catch the wrestling, and many a time I miss it. But yeah, the WCW, I had fond memories of it. It's just like great until like they all merged and they did the whole invasion type thing. It's like which was like kind of crazy, but like I have to ask, like from your meeting your friend at the at your father's garage where you were working at to like buying a ring to then get into the WCW. How long was that journey from that point to that point?
Less than a year.
Less than a year. Wow. Like, no, that's wow, that's mind-boggling quick because like this is the thing. It seems like it's a lot. It's a. It feels like it's a lot of things what went on in a
Yeah.
very sort of condensed period of time. Because
Mhm.
I was imagining it was going to be much longer. Like you're like, oh yes, me right.
No, it
It's
was
like, yeah,
crazy. From the time Mark came and saw me, and then someone took me. Actually, the reason I got to work small shows so fast, and I got the ring about the same time, was that a car dealer and a used car dealer in our town used to. He was retired, and he was kind of he had to use walking canes. I mean, he was kind of crippled up. Okay, but he was the former manager of the masked medics that were known all over the United States back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And so I walked into someone, a relative of mine, took me to see him, and uh, his name was Bill Arnold, and he says, "Mark Smith," and that he had on a hat and he had the white hair that was gone back. I mean, it was like he was in the mafia, and it was his daughter's wedding, so he was sitting back. What kind of favor do you need? You know, that kind of thing, right? I mean, I was psyched out the moment I walked in there, and he said, "Mark Smith, what can I do for you today?" Just like that, you know. I said, "Mr. Bill," I said, "I need to talk with you. I understand you used to be the manager." "Yeah, I did. We did pretty well." I said, "Well, I'd like to. I've seen Mark Scarpa. Yeah, I heard he was doing working up in Portland for Owens. He's doing pretty good." Bill knew what was going on,
yeah.
and so Bill says, "Well, you think you can you think you can do something in this business?" I said, "I sure would like to give it a try, Mr. Bill." I said, "Well, basically what I see, it's about all I got anyway." So he calls a fellow named Art Pritz on the phone. He talked, blah, 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 blah. They talked. Anyway, he and Art was setting it up where they were going to probably, I mean, they just about tried to kill me. Art took me to a rec center. Now, get this. This is how I trained for a solid 4 to 5 months. A 1 inch Olympic wrestling pad, 8 by 8 on a concrete floor.
Oh, oh no, no,
And I
that's
took
not.
body slams on that.
Oh,
I
how?
took I took hip tosses on that, arm drags, all the bumps I took on that. And after about the first 2 weeks, Art told Bill, "This kid's for real." So Bill came out of retirement and called one of the old mass medics, and my first ever matches, they were a part of it because they really believed in me.
God damn. No, don't get me wrong. No. Yeah, uh, concrete floor, and just like yeah, just regular sort of like padded mats. That is a painful combination to say the least. How did you feel after the first body slam? It's like,
Oh, after the first day, I mean, I felt like Gumby. I remember that. Second day, I felt like one of those skeletons in biology class that are just hanging there and they can just be moved every direction. I had things shook loose on me that I didn't even know I had in me, but they were shook loose.
oh, brilliant, brilliant.
I'll tell you this. Uh, oh man, oh I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because I know you'll get it. Um, I did not have to worry about using the restroom. There were no needs for a stool softener. Okay, when you get jumbled like that.
I'm just going to go to the bathroom. What's going to happen? That's number two. We'll see
No,
you. No, 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 no. I'll be in and out. Trust me. It's like I need to move quick. We need to move quick, please. Lord, don't let me fall. It's like,
I mean, it's a thing where it just oh, you sat down and you got up. No matter what you did, your bones would pop. I mean, and I mean, my injuries today, okay, between at least 30 to 40 concussions. Most of my fingers, I don't know if you can tell they're bent, but that's from hitting people.
mm,
That right there, that pops.
okay.
I've broken that knuckle hitting people in the ring. Um, I've had jaw broken twice, not by a hit, but because somebody came down on me wrong, and I was going face first. My nose has been broken 2 or 3 times. Wrist, shoulder twice, at least 8 to 10 ribs. I've had 10 operations on my right knee, which the last one was a full replacement. I've had both hips pulled out of socket in the ring, and I finished the match. And now I have 2 hip replacements.
I've seen the picture on Instagram, to say the least. Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
uh, my knee was so bad that this way, if this was, you see how my arm is straight, that's the way
Yeah.
my right leg would be. And then my right leg would bend outward from the knee down. About 20 to 30 degrees out
Oh, damn.
before the and I plan on getting in the ring one more time.
You're planning to get into the ring one more time.
Yeah, it's gonna be my farewell.
Mark,
Yeah.
dare I say it? I think you've done enough. Just saying, just saying. I think you've done enough. You've put your body on, like, look, I, as I said, I've seen the picture on Instagram of your X-ray. Yeah, of your of your two hip replacements. You've done enough. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to rain on your parade, sir. But yeah, like, if anyone can like go sit down and go, you know what, I've done enough. You are it. You are the poster child of that. Just like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I've done enough for this business. Yes, you have. It's like, it's like, okay. Now,
Well, in all actuality, though, I feel so blessed. I was on a show about a month ago when
yeah.
somebody asked me. They said, they said, how did it feel knowing most of the time you were going to lose? When I'm wrestling the big names, right? You're going to lose, and yet you seem happy. You don't feel like you missed your 5 minutes of fame. How do you deal with that?
Mm.
And I told him, I said, well, I've had my I've sometimes people come up to me and say, I think I know you. Did you ever watch wrestling? Yeah, that's where I know you. I mean, I was getting Chinese the other day and that happened. Okay. And so it's crazy. But well, the way I look at things is that even if I was doing a 3 or 4 minute squash match for somebody, the fact is, my job, I made them look good. When by making them look good, that's what the people paid to see. They wanted to see that big name, but that big name could not be a big name unless different people like me helped enhance his career. So they were paying to see me too. And so by looking at that, I didn't have to be the big name. And to think I was able to do what I love to do. And still, when I do a show and we're talking about wrestling, and I'm going to do it right now if you don't mind, is literally thank every fan. You blessed me. You really did. All the fans that bought every ticket that showed up, they allowed me to do what millions of people would have wanted to do. And when you understand that, how can you be angry or how can you feel like you were gypped in life? I'm thrilled. I think you can tell I have fun talking about with the wrestling and stuff.
No, like this is the thing. Like, okay, for me, like listening to your listen to the stories of how you've gone through it, what you had to do to get there. Like you have you have what I would simply say is, look, as you started off, gratitude. You found, like, I don't know when you discovered that, and with that sort of like finding that gratitude, which I have to say, not many people tend to truly find it. Like people like, oh, I've got gratitude for this, but it's not like it's more of a performance for the world, but like they still have they harbor like resentful tones for their life decisions and like why things didn't go their way. But
Mhm.
you generally seem to have that gratitude for it, because look, you could have been like, okay, my my baseball career did not take off because life like gave me an unfair turn, and this is the reason why I'm in my dad's garage like for the last like 20 or 30 years. Like, yeah, you could say like life threw you a bit of a fit, like a bit of a lucky bone, like where your friend came into it. But the whole point is you made the choice to like buy that ring and then basically go down that path. You like made the choice to make those contacts, do like, yeah, do the $50 shows. I say $50 shows, which turns out to be more like, yeah, $10, and yeah, here's hot dog and like some popcorn. But
The
you,
popcorn.
well, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get
Let's
too
not be
bougie
jealous.
for you right there. It's like, oh my lord, yeah. But like the whole thing is like, with regards to your career sort of development in the like the wrestling life, um, you made positive decisions. You like decided to take control. There was an element of luck where come like things come like that. There's an element of luck in all type of things, but you decided to make positive decisions to like go down this path rather
Oh,
than
yeah.
not doing it. You know?
The last part of my career, I worked for almost 5 years, I believe. And the last little bit of it, I'd been married for 3 years.
Hmm.
And the last bit of it, I have to tell you that verbally, not physically, but verbally, I was abusive. I was a jerk. I had changed from being Mark Smith, the guy who wrestles, to the wrestler Mark Smith. I tell people that's one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The arrogance, everything, it was there. And I ruined my marriage. I did. She, mm-mm, she was a sweet, beautiful girl, and I I ruined her. I hurt her. I ruined it. When I wrote the book, Wrestling with Demons, I had a lot of demons inside of me. And I still had them. When she walked out, she told me she was going to leave. And I'll be honest with you, Bubba, I had no right to ask her to stay. I understood I would have left sooner if I'd have been married to myself. When I wrote the book, people ask me, who's the culprit? Your stepdad, your dad? Who's the culprit in the book? I'm going to tell you, Bubba, it's me. I'm the bad guy. I ended up ruining the marriage, and then I found a stick in the trash can in the bathroom, and it was pink on the end. I didn't realize what it was. I took it to somebody and asked them. They said it's a positive pregnancy test. After months, I finally got her aunt on the phone. The only thing the aunt said to me was, "It's been taken care of."
Oh no.
See, now this is the thing. Let me explain this. I cannot say for sure what happened. I can't. So this is not a slander. Look, if this is a big if there was a child, if something was done to that child, I'm the culprit because I was poisoned. And then I go from there, and then I get called from the sheriff. Get Mark, can you come by? And the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is sitting right there with cuffs out. And then the sheriff takes me into another room. He says, Mark, here's tapes. They've got you talking about steroids. Because you mentioned someone else's name, they're going to cite you for distribution. It's 20 years. And he says, write down everything you know. I say, Mr. Richard, I don't, I, I really don't know anything. Not really. He said, well, you need to get to writing. I said, okay, Mr. Richard, I'll do it, but I'm not lying to you. I just don't know that much. Anyway, I sat down and I wrote. Wasn't much. And I kind of had a tear going down my face. I said, Mr. Richard, this is all I know. And thank you for the opportunity. And I guess I'll see you in 20. He calls in the GBI agents. He says, gentlemen, I've known this boy for a long time, and I cannot see it benefiting the community at all to put this boy in jail. And they looked at him and they kind of nodded. He says, Mark, these tapes are going in this folder. When you come to that fork in your life, you better not get near the middle. You better stay on the right, the correct path, because this will be brought against you and you won't get any more breaks. And I say, yes, sir. So, you know, that happened. And then something weird happened. I just looked at the sky and I started cussing God and telling him how much I hated him and everything else. I said, I made this statement. I said, if you're who you say you are, you prove it to me. Well, I was walking into a hardware store just a week or two after that. And this old geezer, in blue jeans and a button down shirt, he walks in behind me. And then I feel a tap, tap, tap behind my right shoulder. He says, son, I have a word for you. And I thought, you hit me like that again, Bubba. I want to have some words for you too. He said, you don't have to go to school all your life to be a preacher. And I think this guy's on drugs. I said, thank you, sir. And I just walked away. A couple of weeks later, 3 weeks later, a lady tap, tap, tap. Yes, ma'am. Son, I have a word for you. crap. Yes, ma'am. Son, you don't have to go to school all your life to be a preacher. A few weeks later, tap, tap, tap. Yes, sir. Son, I have a word for you. Okay, whoever's taking these drugs, man, you need to give me some. My gosh. Anyway, it happened 8 times. I met my wife Brenda. We um we go to church a few times. Ended up this one time I'm in the church and she doesn't happen to be with me on this particular day. And I get so sick sitting in that church. I'm sitting on the back row. I go outside and I throw up on the front lawn. I come back, get sick again, go throw up again. Come back in, I get sick. I go out again. And the service started at 10:30. So I'm thinking at 10:20, at 10:29 in 30 seconds, I'm walking in. I walked in and I just cinched, you know, on that pew. And, not really the right thing to think about, but I said, hell or high water, I'm staying here. They walked out, the little choir walked out, and the ministers walked out. They say it was about 10 seconds into the song. They said I ran down to the altar. It felt like somebody had put a water hose into my navel and everything just started coming out. They said I was screaming. I was making it right with God. All kinds of things were happening. And about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the pastor came and tapped me on the back and held me by my shoulders and lifted me up. The pastor said, Mark, let me take you to lunch. So I'd been down there for a long time. He said, what happened? And I explained to him. Well, about 3 months later, about 3 months later, I'm sitting with Brenda and we're in a church service. And I just kind of pray. I say, okay, God, look, I'm listening. Okay, you've made your point. I give up. I give up. I give up. You've shown me. I give up. I say, if you would, am I going to be single the rest of my life or am I going to get married? Can you kind of let me know what the plan is? I'm just curious. You know what I mean? That's really the way I asked it. At the end of the service, tap, tap, tap. This old lady, I'm sure she was probably a brunette, and it had probably gone brunette, silver, white, blue, and she had purple hair. I mean, look, I'm just going to tell you, I think she was Winston Churchill's prom date. Okay. I usually say Abe Lincoln, but I said Winston Churchill to give
I,
you a plug. Okay?
thank you for changing the joke to match my cultural heritage of some sort. Yeah, I like it.
So anyway,
Yeah, stage.
she says, son, I have a word for you. And I'm going, crap, not here, not again. No. She said, what you have prayed for, it's right beside you. Now, there was about a 75-year-old skinny dude beside me. And so I look to my left and I go, oh God, please no. And then I look to the right and there's Brenda and I'm going, okay, yeah, okay, I can deal with this, please.
Just like, well, this will be a far different conversation. So, so you adopted your children. Yeah, it was fabulous. It was a great time. Say no more.
So I mean and I felt what happened with my life then is I went around. I bet you in a month I went and saw 200 people that I had really done wrong, and I apologized. I feel like that was one more I felt like there was one more place I had to go. I had to go back to that school where I had the 1.11 GPA, and I needed to apologize to them because I wasted a seat in their classes. So I went down, the same dean was there, and I went down and I apologized. And then she started crying. She says, "Mark, I want you to do something." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Go get your books and start class tomorrow." And I'm going, "No." I'm thinking inside myself, "No, I did not come here to go to school."
Well, you
Anyway,
opened the
guess
door.
what? Yeah,
Yeah.
he made it to where I had to go to school. All of a sudden, um, when I graduated college, I had an over a 3.0 grade point average, and in grad school a 3.75, and
Nice.
that is with a changed heart. So with all this, you asked me what was my message when we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
My message is that now that you've heard my story, all you viewers, please, if you're hurting and if you're in a bad place right now, wherever you are, understand that you are loved. And if nothing else, you there's if there's something in my story, in my testimony, in my story that kind of you can relate with, take it and understand you're not alone. And what I realized for me, and this is me, I'm not trying to convert anybody, but this is me. I'm gonna tell you what I found out was I feel so much better when I know God's my tag team partner. I don't have to face life alone. Brenda and I have been married now 32 years. Thank you.
No, 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 this is the thing. 32 years. Look, like, one of the things I like about you is, like, yeah, look, okay, you you've taken ownership and responsibility for, yeah, when you've been like a crappy human being.
Hmm.
And like the whole thing is it like, okay, listen to your like the whole conversation, like, yeah, the story of your life. It would like it'll be very easy for you to like go, yeah, it was my biological father. Yeah, it was my stepdad. And like, yeah, a myriad of things you could have like put that, laid it down at. But it's a case of when, no, look, I'm a grown up, I'm an adult. Like, who was this on? It was on, like, it was on myself. Yeah, like, it was on me. And you've taken responsibility of that, but you went not so much out of the realm of like forgiveness for yourself. It like you went on this journey, this pilgrimage to like, okay, yes, let me make things right with like these people, like who I've wronged over the course of time. And like, yeah, I, I don't know how many people like said, I thank you for saying that and blah blah blah, or told you to like, yeah, told you where to stick your apology where the sun don't shine. But regardless of that, like, you did that, because one of the things I often say about us as human beings, there's a mirror of truth we all have. Okay, the mirror of truth can show us all the beautiful things and the best things of ourselves, but unfortunately, it shows you the absolute cold truth, the things which are not so nice, the ugly side of our character, of our nature, the things which we're like, okay, yeah, if some people like witness some of the things what went down in your life, they might judge you harshly for it, but they should not cast any stones because they're not as pure and innocent as they think they might be. But the whole thing is, if you don't look at the mirror of truth on a regular basis, the ugliness becomes so big and so like, ah, so negative to us, we can't look at it. And if you can't look at the ugly truth which lives within you, there is no way to fix those things and move it from the ugly side to basically like yeah, the beautiful side, the like things which make you a better person, the things which what can help uplift others around you. And that's the thing, you've gone into that. And like, look, don't get me wrong, I'm sure like you'll be like, yes, I still got work to do. And, it's never a done deal until, you know what I mean, where we shift off of this mortal coil. But you're doing the work. And look, that work has got you 32 years of marriage. That work has got you free, like kids, which you and your lady had together. But then you opened up your household, your hearts, to bring in three children, which you chose to do. Like five, sorry. Yes, that's right. To bring it up to eight, to like do all of this. And now if you if the guy you were at the end of your wrestling career was the same, still the same guy, there is no way you would have this. Like you're a complete stranger to him. And I'm not too sure what that guy would say. Like it might be a case of I achieve that much in you've had three lives. And like this is the thing. Like yeah, one life you just it was like kind of, you know what I mean. I would say you skated by and it looked like it was going in a certain direction that was taken away from you. Yeah. Another life you worked hard at what you thought it was, but it was leading you down a dark path. And like this third life where you found your wife, your eight kids, your grandkids, and like you're a minister, and like, yeah, you found your peace with God over a course of I don't know how long. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
57. Okay.
fish- yeah, over a course of many years to find out where you are right now. Yeah, came to you like knocked, like tapped you on the shoulders 8 times
Hmm.
before you got the message. And like, this is the thing with regards to what you do next. Who knows? Like, this is the thing. Like, I don't feel like I feel if you when you do get back in the ring, my God be with you. It's like I feel like there is, yeah, at this fourth stage. I'm not too sure what that's going to look like for you, but you've gone on many a podcast, you've talked to many a person, and like this is the thing. Yes, being a man of religion and yeah, one who wants to grow, yeah, you're trying to spread this message as effectively as possible. So, apart from the book, doing podcasts, what would you like to do, say, in the next 3 years, like taking you up to 60, to like, yeah, to like take you on this next stage, this fourth
Well,
stage in your life?
I one thing I would like to do is we just found out that my one of my grandsons has level 3 autism.
Oh,
So we are, he's doing great though.
mm,
Uh, I would like to see him progress, be able to witness that. My other grandkids are just fantastic. In the next 3 years, probably write another one, another book. I've already started it.
oh,
The first book was Wrestling with Demons because it was what I mean by demons, it is that ugly side. So you really defined the way I'm using the word demons.
ooh,
Okay. So that was fantastic. I appreciate what you said. And I'm going to be actually, because I did, I think you can hear from my story that I did. It's going to be wrestling with God. And wrestling with God is actually a very beautiful thing. You wouldn't think it is, but it is. And you really don't get close to somebody or you realize how close you are to somebody when you have a fight. You notice that?
oh. Well, like this is the thing. I would imagine, like, not that I've had too many fights in my time. It's uh, like it's a case of when it's like that sort of one-on-one situation with a person, you like like there's no sort of false words to hide behind. There's no sort of pretense or like, yeah, sleight of hand going on. It's just you are there one on one slugging it out. And that you can't get more true than that at times, you know?
Well, it's just think of a way a wrestling match starts. You do the old collar and elbow where you hook up and you work
Mm.
each other a little bit. That's how you find out how if the other person's going to be stiff or if they can actually relax in the ring. You learn a lot from that. Sometimes you learn that okay, I'm going to have to lay something on them to calm them down. Well, that's intimacy. No matter what, it's intimacy.
Mm.
You know, you and I feel like we're really good friends. I really love you and I appreciate you to death. I've really enjoyed being with you.
No
And
worries. Don't. I've appreciated being with you. Don't worry. I promise I will not ask you for money anytime soon. That's another story.
you can ask. I'm not sure if I have it, but you can ask.
Like, it's like you know what I mean. It's like you know that guy, that Brit over there. He owes me $10. Give him. It's like,
It's a but you know in the 3 year question, I think when you're at peace, and in so many ways I am at peace. I'm just I'll just take the door as it opens. I don't feel like I have to force anything. Uh, when I started producing TV shows, I just got a simple phone call. They said, Mark, could you take and make a show about this? And, it was a thing where I told them, I said, well, this is going to work because of two things. They said, what? I said, I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants and it's in a prayer. That's the two things I'm going to use. And you know what? Things are working out beautifully. And I just, I just want to do my best. The doors that open. I mean, we have to understand we can only do what we can do. Let me say it that way. It and so many people do things without understanding. You need to have some peace. When you've got that peace, you know it's the right door. And I think because of my faith, I understand that the right doors will open up. Uh, and when the doors aren't opening, it's my time to be still. Maybe I just need to be still and listen a little bit.
yeah. Oh, like this is a thing. With you saying you found your like my excuse again. When you say you found your peace, like I would say you've done a lot of self-reflection. You've like actually gone in deep on yourself to find out who you are more so than I would say the vast majority of people. Like I often say most people know themselves around about 30, maybe 40% if they really sort of delve deep. Anyone who goes, I know myself 100%, every nook and cranny, then I'm like going, okay, you're a liar,
Hmm.
or you need to stay away from me because you have done some dark deeds to know, like to be able to like say that with like confidence. You might done good as well, but yeah, no, it's one of those things. And then just when you like go, okay, I know who I am, and like yeah, life can like when kids come along with yourself, it's a total different reset, and you've got to learn a whole new bunch of things about yourself.
Hmm.
You've delved in deep, and I think to like for people to find that type of peace, if they're not religious or anything like that, they need to do a lot of self like reflection, a lot of like yeah, inner like inner soul searching, rather than like sort of like a yeah, how do I find my peace? Yeah, no, you get peaceful with yourself by looking at yourself, working on yourself. And I'm not saying seal yourself away from the world because you
Right.
live within it. You've got to be active within it, but bit by bit, help repair yourself, heal yourself by actually acknowledging things which go on to like go, yeah, I understand myself a little bit better. So I can be patient, I can be peaceful, and I'm ready for whatever life throws me next to take me on to that next stage, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and that's the way I am. I mean, look, one thing I didn't get into, and just I'm do it in a minute, is the fact that my son, my biological son, when he was 2 years old, no, 3 years old, he was walking. Uh, he was rushed to a hospital, to Children's Hospital in Dallas, Texas. He had started turning blue,
Mhm.
purple. When they did his blood work, they had found that all the platelets had just dissolved out of his blood. So for 5 months, we had to literally put him in like football pads, American football pads, except for the shoulder pads, because they told us if he was to even skin his knee a little bit, he would bleed to death before we would get him back to the hospital. He had weekly, sometimes twice a week blood tests for months. We were called by the doctors, and the doctors had told us they needed to tell us something. We were, we were, we started crying because we knew they were going to tell us how much time our son had. And he got into the fact that they still didn't know what caused it. They don't think there was no cure for it. That they, but something happened. Anyway, they did a blood test, no platelets. A few hours later, they went in and did another blood test, and over 300,000 platelets appeared in his blood, and he was miraculously healed. And that the doctor said it was a miracle. So, what I'm saying by that is sometimes the blessings in life, maybe they're not even gauged toward you, the individual, but the people. You can be happy because you see what's happening to those close to you. You're seeing that love is alive. And so I just, it's not me. It's it's everyone around me. My life is has been blessed because of everybody else. From the wrestlers that took me under their wing, from Sid, Ricky Steamboat, all these guys that I've wrestled. And I was so privileged about a year before he passed away, I had about a 30-minute conversation with the legend Harley Race. And I was driving through downtown Nashville, Tennessee, and I thanked him. I said, Mr. Race, you wouldn't remember me if you saw me, probably. But when we were back in the near the monitors, you would speak to me. You would be kind to me. I've never forgotten it. And I learned so much about being a professional just by being around you for 10 minutes. And Harley told me, he said, Mark, I think as I got older, I realized that I should be treating the kids the way I would have wanted to be treated when I broke into the business. And I hung up from him, and tears were going down my eyes and down my face, rather. And I, there are things like that I look at. Somebody may say, oh, well, you spent some time with Harley Race, whatever. When I hung up that phone, man, I just knew. I said, I love that fella. He's a good man. I love that fella. You'd be surprised. There are some of the real popular wrestlers that were not near this kind. But I'll tell you, I am so blessed. Every listener, everyone that ever bought a ticket, I'm blessed that the man upstairs didn't give up on me when I wasn't worth the air I was breathing. I appreciate those people that stuck with me and the love. My wife, my wife is one of the two rocks in my life. And I've got kids and grandkids, and my grandkid with autism says pop pop, and he runs and jumps in my arms. Talking, I mean, seriously, talking and making great friends like you. Look, man, how can I not feel blessed? And I appreciate you. You see, being with you today and getting to know you, there's going to be some things I remember about this. And you're in my heart now. You will remain in my heart because I'm just open and willing to love.
Most kind of you, sir. Thank you. It is appreciated. And like, look, like my experience with like yourself. Yes, like for like someone who shows like so much gratitude for what like life has offered them, like through the trials and tribulations, it is very rare, as I said before, to find someone who has gratitude for their life, for the people who like come into the life and see them as you just mentioned, a blessing. Because it's like one of those things. Look, like you speak very fondly of many of the wrestlers you like worked with back in the day. Look, and like this is the thing. There is a huge segment of your life after wrestling where I'm like, yeah, I can only imagine how fondly you speak of other people who've like basically brought you into the church, into the community, and like, yeah, like who've
Hmm.
helped you and who you've helped along the way. And you know what I mean? It's like I would say, yes, you have gone. I would say, like, yeah, if things keep going their way, they are going. I can only see more positivity, more blessings coming your way because, like, look, yeah, it's one of those things where people often like go, "Let me do this so I can receive this," rather than be like, "Okay, let me serve my community, let me serve people around my like myself." To basically look, you mentioned purpose earlier in this conversation, right? Too many people like they have a sense of individual purpose. One of the things which is severely lacking in our world today is that joint like sense of purpose. Like basically a joint sense of purpose where you have to overcome like an obstacle or a trial or tribulation over a period of stress. This is the things what bring us together. It's the very things like you know what I mean. It helps build everything. When it's just like I'm trying to find my like individual purpose to hell with everyone around me. It's just all about me. That's where we all fall painfully short. And when I say as collectively, as a group, as society, and I think that's what we need to find a little bit more of, like going forward, a collective sense of purpose. And you know what I mean? Like I'm just a mere humble individual doing this podcast, which I've been blessed with being able to do 341 episodes where
That's
I've had the privilege to meet people like yourself. And
well,
like, yeah, and I could have made the decision not to do this. I don't get paid for it, far from it. But like, you know what? If I can get like, I in some regards selfishly benefit from it because I get to like have these conversations. I get to learn and grow, but hopefully others around me can get that same lessons and they can grow from it. But you know what I mean? Hey,
it's us. It should be we all trying to help each other.
yeah,
You know, people. I just look at it and think the jails would be a lot emptier. There'd be a lot less murders
mm,
if people could understand that maybe that person that an individual is killing, it could have very well been an individual to help that somewhere down the road could have helped the killer.
No,
You never
no,
know.
absolutely, indeed. But yeah, like I think where like the whole thing is, I would say it feels like the world is in a darker place at this present time. But like the whole thing is, I think, as dark as it might be right now, the closer we might be to turning things around in a positive direction. But you know what I mean?
It,
Call me an eternal optimist. You know?
it makes people willing to open their hearts like we're doing today. And I just appreciate, I can tell you that I think you're doing a great job. And some people, when I'm on their show, they actually think about it and they go, well, gosh, you're right. But I feel like for you, this is a labor of love for your community, for your listeners, because you're you're wanting to help. You're not wanting to destroy. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know, right now, the world just look, the world just needs love, brother. I guess that's just a simple way of putting it. We need love. Love can conquer a lot of things. It's easier to smile physically. It's easier to smile than frown, and I believe it's a lot more beautiful to hate. I mean, a lot more beautiful to love, and easier to love than hate.
Yeah. Oh no! Someone did come in like behind you. They put their head in. Oh no!
My son, they just got sons. They just got home from school, and we are a multiracial family, by the way.
Ah,
Uh,
awesome.
we've we've got Caucasian, we have American Indian, we have Hispanic, and we have African American.
Like, oh, my God! Like this is it. You have a household which is the United Colors of Benetton right there.
Well, don't get
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that when you walk through, it's like you're walking through the United Nations.
There you go. I'm loving it. Loving it. Oh man. Look, oh God. I've like sadly I have no more questions. Well, like no, it's just time pressing against me.
Absolutely.
And
Well, look,
like
yeah, I just appreciate you so much, brother. I really do.
I appreciate you. And look, how would people be able to find you out here on the big wide world web?
Okay. Well, if you want to find me on Facebook, my family, my parents cursed me with a first name, but I go ahead and I use it anyway sometimes, especially on Facebook because it distinguishes me. Mark Smith is a very common name. So
No.
yeah, believe it or not, I would have rather had Bob Jones, but they went to Mark Smith. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. But my first name is actually Ira. So it's Ira Mark Smith. Send me a friend request, or if you would like to, send me, a message. Um, look, you know, if you're going through a rough time, you just say, "Hey, remember me in your prayers." I promise you, I'll remember you. But if you need to ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it to the best of my ability. As far as a website, it's www.wrestlingwithdemonsmith, and that's with two S's, Demons and Smith, wrestlingwithdemonsmith.com. And we're hoping next year I may be bringing a professional wrestling crew over, and we'll have several matches in different cities. And so we are looking forward to doing that. We're going to be in the London area, and then we will also be in Edinburgh, Scotland. So, I hope we are able to meet up and visit one another face to face. But to all of you, look, I do love you. I don't think we have to know each other's name to be able to say we love you. But I do love y'all. I hope that you have peace. I hope you know where to find peace. And in all this, if there was ever a person to think he was junk, it was me. I thought I was. But I can tell you now, God doesn't make junk. Brothers and sisters, you are not junk. And don't ever accept the lie that you are. You're precious and you're a gift to this world.
Indeed, indeed. Go out, go out there, find Mark, like connect with him. He's a top notch fella, and yeah, uh, let's see how far it goes. But let me just say this to you, my friends, my life warriors out there. Please stay well, stay safe, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic, be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. And hey, remember, you are enough. It's true. Hey, have a good one. Peace. Oh, yeah. And we are out.